In early 2024, the world was buzzing with news that seemed straight out of a political thriller. Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State and one of the most influential figures in American politics, found herself at the center of a storm, once again. This time it wasn't just about elections or policy debates, it was something much bigger, involving allegations that could shake the foundations of trust in leadership. The whispers started quietly, almost like a distant murmur, but soon grew into loud conversations across news channels, social media platforms, and dinner tables. It all began when reports surfaced about an ongoing investigation into how certain classified documents were handled during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. For years, there had been lingering questions about her use of a private email server, a topic that had already sparked heated debates during her presidential campaigns. But this time, things felt different. There was talk of new evidence uncovered not by government agencies or investigative journalists, but by someone entirely unexpected: Elon Musk. Yes, the same Elon Musk who was known for his electric cars, space rockets, and bold tweets. His involvement added a layer of intrigue that no one saw coming. Musk, now the head of X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, made a startling announcement. He claimed that his team had discovered hidden emails linked to Clinton's private server scandal. These weren't just ordinary emails. According to Musk, they contained critical information that could prove misconduct. Naturally, the internet exploded. Was this real? Was Musk playing some kind of game? Or was he genuinely trying to expose wrongdoing? People couldn't stop talking about it. Some dismissed him as attention-seeking, while others praised him for stepping up where others had failed. What made this situation even more fascinating was the timing. Politics in America were already tense, with divisions running deep between parties and ideologies. Adding fuel to the fire, Musk's intervention came at a moment when public trust in traditional institutions was waning. Many people believed that powerful figures often got away with things because of their connections or influence. Musk, however, positioned himself as someone outside the usual power structures, a tech billionaire unafraid to challenge the status quo. Whether you loved him or hated him, you couldn't deny that he knew how to capture attention. As details trickled out, curiosity turned into speculation. Journalists scrambled to verify Musk's claims, but the sheer complexity of the case made it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Classified documents, encrypted files, and cybersecurity protocols became part of everyday conversations. It was like watching a real-life spy movie unfold before everyone's eyes. Meanwhile, Clinton remained silent for days, letting her lawyers handle the initial wave of inquiries. Her supporters rallied around her, calling the accusations baseless and politically motivated. They argued that this was just another attempt to tarnish her reputation after decades in the public eye. But Musk wasn't backing down. If anything, he doubled down. Through a series of cryptic tweets, he teased what he called irrefutable proof of misconduct. Each post sent shockwaves through the online community, with millions dissecting every word and punctuation mark. Conspiracy theories flourished, ranging from plausible explanations to wild imaginations. Some speculated that Musk had ulterior motives, perhaps aiming to settle old scores or boost his own image. Others saw him as a modern-day whistleblower, using his resources to bring truth to light. Whatever the reason, one thing was clear. Musk had successfully turned this story into a global spectacle. Behind the scenes, federal investigators worked tirelessly to make sense of the chaos. They reviewed the documents provided by Musk's team, cross-referencing them with existing records. Legal experts weighed in, debating whether Musk's actions constituted interference or if they fell under free speech protections. Privacy advocates raised concerns about how such sensitive information had been obtained and shared. Every angle of the story seemed to lead to more questions than answers, keeping the public hooked. For Hillary Clinton, this was yet another chapter in a long history of challenges. She had faced scrutiny before, during her time in the White House as a senator and throughout her presidential runs, but this felt different. The stakes were higher, and the spotlight was brighter. Friends and allies urged her to address the issue directly, to take control of the narrative before it spiraled further out of hand. Critics, on the other hand, seized the opportunity to dig up past controversies, reminding everyone of unresolved grievances. It was a perfect storm of drama, politics, and technology colliding in ways no one could have predicted. As weeks passed, the story continued to dominate headlines. Late-night talk show hosts joked about Musk's unexpected role in national security matters. Memes flooded social media, poking fun at the absurdity of it all. Yet beneath the humor lay a deeper unease. People wondered about the implications of allowing a single individual, no matter how brilliant or wealthy, to wield so much power over such sensitive issues. Could Musk be trusted? Should he have intervened at all? And what did this mean for the future of accountability and leadership? Despite the noise, one undeniable truth emerged. The world was watching. From small towns in America to international capitals, people tuned in daily for updates on the unfolding saga. It wasn't just about Clinton or Musk anymore. It was about the broader questions they represented. How do we balance transparency with privacy? Where do we draw the line between activism and interference? And most importantly, who gets to decide what is right or wrong in an increasingly complex world? By the time the first courtroom hearing was announced, anticipation had reached a fever pitch. Everyone wanted to know how this bizarre tale would end. Would justice prevail? Would secrets remain buried? Or would the truth, messy as it might be, finally come to light? One thing was certain. Whatever happened next would leave a lasting mark on history and keep audiences glued to their screens until the very last moment. The day of the courtroom hearing arrived, and it felt like the entire nation was holding its breath. The case against Hillary Clinton had drawn so much attention that even people who rarely followed politics were glued to their TVs or scrolling through live updates on their phones. Outside the federal courthouse in New York City, a sea of reporters, photographers, and curious onlookers gathered hours before the proceedings were set to begin. Protesters held up signs with slogans ranging from "Transparency Now" to "Enough." Political witch hunts. It was clear that this wasn't just another legal matter. It was a cultural moment. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was electric. Rows of wooden benches creaked under the weight of journalists, legal analysts, and a few lucky members of the public who had managed to secure seats. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but sketch artists worked furiously to capture every expression and gesture. At the center of it all sat Hillary Clinton, calm and composed, dressed in a tailored navy blue suit. Her demeanor suggested confidence, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. Flanked by her team of high-profile lawyers, she listened intently as the judge began the session with a stern reminder about decorum and respect for the court. The prosecution laid out its case first, presenting a timeline of events leading up to the investigation. They argued that classified documents had been mishandled during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, emphasizing the potential risks such actions posed to national security. While they stopped short of accusing Clinton directly, the implication was clear. Someone in her inner circle, and possibly Clinton herself, had failed to follow proper protocols. The defense countered with a robust argument, pointing out gaps in the evidence and questioning the motivations behind the sudden resurgence of interest in an issue that had already been scrutinized years earlier. As the arguments unfolded, tensions in the room grew palpable. Lawyers exchanged sharp words, judges interrupted with clarifying questions, and spectators leaned forward in their seats, hanging on to every detail. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more dramatic, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Heads turned toward the entrance as a figure entered the courtroom, a figure no one expected to see. Elon Musk, dressed in his signature casual attire of jeans and a blazer, strode in with an air of quiet determination. His presence sent shockwaves through the room, leaving everyone, lawyers, journalists, and even the judge, momentarily stunned. Musk didn't sit in the audience. Instead, he approached the front of the courtroom, whispering something to one of the prosecutors. Within minutes, the judge called for a brief recess, citing the need to address an unforeseen development. Speculation ran rampant during the break. Why was Musk here? What role could he possibly play in a legal proceeding involving classified information? Some whispered that he might be testifying. Others guessed he was there to observe as a concerned citizen. When the session resumed, answers began to emerge, but not without further surprises. To everyone's astonishment, Musk took the stand. Yes, the Elon Musk, billionaire entrepreneur and self-proclaimed free speech absolutist, was now sitting in the witness box, ready to testify. The judge, visibly taken aback, reminded him of the seriousness of the occasion and the importance of truthful testimony under oath. Musk nodded solemnly, though his trademark smirk hinted at the spectacle he was about to unleash. As he began speaking, his voice carried both authority and a hint of theatrical flair, keeping the entire room captivated. Musk explained that his involvement stemmed from a discovery made by engineers working under his leadership at X. Using advanced algorithms designed to detect anomalies in digital data, his team had stumbled upon encrypted files linked to Clinton's private server scandal. He described these files as smoking guns, alleging that they contained communications suggesting improper handling of sensitive materials. Musk claimed that traditional institutions had ignored or overlooked this evidence due to bureaucratic, red tape, or worse, deliberate negligence. His testimony painted a picture of a system riddled with flaws, where accountability was often sacrificed for convenience or political gain. Musk positioned himself as a disruptor, someone willing to challenge the status quo to ensure transparency. He spoke passionately about the dangers of complacency in matters of national security and the responsibility of individuals to act when governments fell short. At times, his tone bordered on accusatory, particularly when he referenced unnamed officials whom he believed had deliberately avoided addressing the issue. Clinton's defense team wasted no time in challenging Musk's credibility. They questioned the legality of how his company had accessed the files, raising concerns about privacy violations and potential breaches of cybersecurity laws. They also highlighted Musk's history of controversial statements and impulsive behavior, suggesting that his motives might not be entirely altruistic. Was he seeking justice, or was this just another publicity stunt? Musk remained unfazed, countering each accusation with quick wit and technical jargon that left many in the room struggling to keep up. Throughout the exchange, the judge struggled to maintain order, interrupting frequently to clarify points or redirect focus. She reminded everyone present, including Musk, that this was a court of law, not a stage for grandstanding. Yet despite her efforts, it was impossible to ignore the spectacle unfolding before her. Musk's larger-than-life personality dominated the room, turning what should have been a routine legal proceeding into something akin to a reality TV show. By the end of the day, opinions were divided. Some viewed Musk as a hero, bravely stepping into a corrupt system to expose the truth. Others saw him as reckless, using his wealth and influence to meddle in affairs beyond his expertise. Regardless of where people stood, one thing was undeniable. Musk's unexpected appearance had transformed the trial into something far bigger than anyone anticipated. As the courtroom emptied and the sun set over Manhattan, conversations spilled out onto the streets, into bars, and across social media platforms. Everyone wanted to know what would happen next, and whether Musk's bold move would ultimately help or harm the pursuit of justice. The drama didn't end there. Overnight, the story exploded globally, sparking debates about ethics, technology, and the limits of individual power. For better or worse, Elon Musk had inserted himself into one of the most contentious legal battles of recent memory. And as the world waited anxiously for the next chapter, it became clear that this case would go down in history, not just for its substance, but for the unforgettable personalities driving it forward. Elon Musk's bombshell testimony transformed the courtroom into a stage for high-stakes drama, leaving everyone, from the judge to the spectators, on edge. As he sat in the witness box, his every word carried weight, and his confident demeanor made it clear that he wasn't just there to observe. He was determined to shape the narrative. Musk began by laying out what he called the facts, presenting encrypted files allegedly retrieved from abandoned servers connected to Hillary Clinton's private email setup. These documents, he claimed, contained communications that revealed improper handling of sensitive information. His tone was calm but firm, as if he were addressing a room full of engineers rather than a packed courtroom. Musk's presentation was anything but ordinary. He didn't rely on dry legal jargon or technical reports. Instead, he spoke with the flair of someone who knew how to command attention. Using simple language and vivid analogies, he explained how advanced algorithms developed by his team had uncovered patterns suggesting misconduct. "Imagine finding a hidden door in a house you thought you knew inside out," he said, leaning slightly forward in his seat. "That's what this was like, except the house is national security and the door leads to something far more serious." The analogy resonated with many in the room, even as skeptics rolled their eyes at his dramatic flair. As Musk delved deeper into his testimony, he accused certain government officials of deliberately ignoring the issue due to their ties to Clinton. He argued that these officials had either turned a blind eye or actively suppressed evidence because confronting the truth would have been politically inconvenient. Musk named no names, but his implications were loud and clear. "When systems fail, individuals must step up," he declared, his voice rising slightly. "I'm not doing this for fame or fortune. I'm doing it because someone has to." The defense team, however, wasn't about to let Musk's claims go unchallenged. They launched a fierce counterattack, questioning the legality of how Musk's company had obtained the files. One lawyer stood up and asked pointedly, "Mr. Musk, are you aware that accessing classified materials without proper authorization is a federal offense?" The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Musk. For a brief moment, his usual confidence wavered, but he quickly regained composure. "We didn't break any laws," he replied smoothly. "Our methods are proprietary, and we acted within ethical boundaries. If anything, we've done the public a service by bringing this to light." The exchange grew increasingly heated as the defense pressed further. They highlighted Musk's history of bold statements and impulsive decisions, suggesting that his involvement in the case might be driven by personal vendettas rather than a genuine desire for justice. "Isn't it true, Mr. Musk, that you've publicly criticized Mrs. Clinton in the past?" one attorney asked, raising an eyebrow. Musk chuckled softly, brushing off the question with a wave of his hand. "Criticism isn't a crime," he shot back, "and neither is seeking transparency. If my actions make people uncomfortable, maybe they should examine why." Despite the mounting challenges, Musk remained unshaken. He doubled down on his assertions, providing specific examples of what he described as irrefutable proof of misconduct. At one point, he pulled out a tablet and displayed snippets of the alleged emails, though the judge quickly intervened, reminding him that sharing such content publicly could compromise ongoing investigations. Musk nodded respectfully but couldn't resist adding, "Sometimes the truth is messy, but that doesn't mean we should look away." The tension in the courtroom reached its peak when Musk dropped another bombshell. He accused unnamed officials of attempting to discredit his findings, going so far as to suggest that some within the government had pressured tech companies to suppress the story. "They don't want you to know," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "But I won't let them bury the truth." The statement sent shockwaves through the room, prompting gasps from the audience and hurried scribbling from reporters. Even the judge seemed momentarily stunned, pausing to collect her thoughts before reminding Musk to stick to the facts. Throughout the testimony, the judge struggled to maintain control over the proceedings. She frequently interrupted Musk to clarify points or redirect focus, emphasizing the need for objectivity and adherence to legal protocols. Yet, despite her efforts, it was impossible to ignore the spectacle unfolding before her. Musk's charisma and audacity dominated the room, turning what should have been a routine hearing into something closer to a live performance. Some spectators whispered among themselves, marveling at his ability to hold the court's attention. Others exchanged skeptical glances, wondering whether his testimony was more entertainment than evidence. By the time Musk stepped down from the stand, the atmosphere in the courtroom had shifted dramatically. Supporters of Clinton argued that Musk's testimony was riddled with speculation and lacked concrete evidence. They dismissed his claims as baseless accusations designed to tarnish her reputation. Meanwhile, Musk's fans celebrated him as a modern-day whistleblower, Applauding his willingness to challenge powerful institutions, social media exploded with reactions, ranging from memes mocking the absurdity of the situation to serious discussions about accountability and ethics. Outside the courthouse, protests intensified. Supporters of both sides gathered in growing numbers, chanting slogans and holding signs. On one side, chants of "Lock her up" echoed through the streets, while on the other, crowds rallied behind banners reading "Free Speech Matters." The divide reflected the broader polarization gripping the nation, with each group convinced of its moral superiority. Journalists scrambled to cover the chaos, capturing footage of passionate speeches, heated arguments, and occasional scuffles between opposing factions. Back inside, the judge faced a daunting task. After hours of deliberation, she announced that an independent review of the evidence presented by Musk would be conducted. This decision came as a compromise, acknowledging the significance of the allegations while ensuring that due process was followed. The move drew mixed reactions. Some praised the judge for her fairness and commitment to thoroughness, while others criticized her for prolonged barred. The courtroom drama surrounding Hillary Clinton and Elon Musk's surprise involvement quickly spilled out into the public sphere, igniting a firestorm of debate that seemed to touch every corner of society. What started as a legal proceeding morphed into a cultural phenomenon, with people from all walks of life weighing in on the unfolding events. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtags, news outlets churned out endless analysis pieces, and late-night talk show hosts couldn't resist poking fun at the surreal twists and turns. The case wasn't just about classified documents anymore. It had become a battleground for larger questions about power, accountability, and the role of technology in shaping justice. As the days passed, the divide between supporters of Clinton and those backing Musk grew sharper. On one side, Clinton's defenders argued that the accusations were politically motivated smears designed to tarnish her legacy. They pointed out that similar investigations in the past had failed to produce conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. Her team released statements emphasizing her decades of public service and accusing Musk of grandstanding for personal gain. "This is not about transparency," one of her lawyers said during an interview. "It's about using sensationalism to distract from real issues." Supporters rallied behind this narrative, organizing campaigns online and offline to defend her reputation. On the other side, Musk's advocates celebrated him as a crusader for truth and accountability. To them, his intervention represented a rare moment where someone with immense resources and influence stepped up to challenge what they saw as systemic corruption. Fans flooded social media with messages of support, praising Musk's bravery and framing him as a modern-day whistleblower. Memes comparing him to fictional heroes like Batman or Sherlock Holmes spread like wildfire, adding a layer of irony to the already chaotic discourse. For many, Musk's presence in the trial symbolized hope that individuals could still make a difference, even against entrenched systems. But the polarization didn't stop there. As opinions clashed, protests erupted outside courthouses across the country. In New York City, where the trial was taking place, crowds gathered daily, their chants echoing through the streets. One group held signs reading "Expose the Truth" and "Accountability Matters," while another countered with banners declaring "Protect our leaders" and "Stop political witch hunts." The two factions often stood mere feet apart, separated only by barricades and police officers tasked with maintaining order. Tensions occasionally boiled over, leading to heated arguments and minor scuffles. But the overall energy remained charged yet peaceful, a testament to the passion driving both sides. Meanwhile, lawmakers found themselves caught in the crossfire. With Musk now directly implicated in the handling of sensitive materials, questions arose about the legality of his actions. Congressional hearings were called to investigate how his company had accessed the encrypted files and whether proper protocols had been followed. Critics accused Musk of overstepping boundaries, arguing that no individual, no matter how wealthy or influential, should have unchecked access to classified information. Others defended him, saying that traditional institutions had failed to address serious concerns, leaving innovators like Musk with no choice but to act. The media played a pivotal role in amplifying the chaos. Cable news networks dedicated hours of coverage to dissecting every development, often inviting experts with opposing views to debate live on air. Talk shows hosted panels featuring former government officials, tech entrepreneurs, and legal analysts, each offering their take on the situation. Late-night comedians seized the opportunity to turn the trial into comedic gold, crafting sketches that lampooned everything from Musk's eccentric personality to the absurdity of a tech billionaire testifying in a federal court. Clips of these performances went viral, further embedding the story into popular culture. Amid the frenzy, ordinary citizens struggled to separate fact from fiction. Conspiracy theories multiplied, fueled by the sheer volume of information and misinformation circulating online. Some claimed that Musk's involvement was part of a larger plot to destabilize American politics, while others speculated that Clinton's team had orchestrated the entire ordeal to deflect attention from unrelated scandals. Even rational discussions became muddled as emotions ran high, making it difficult for anyone to agree on even the most basic facts. Inside the courtroom, the judge faced mounting pressure to keep the proceedings under control. Each day brought new challenges, from unexpected motions filed by both sides to disruptions caused by Musk's outspoken commentary. At one point, she issued a stern warning after Musk made an offhand remark about the inefficiency of the judicial system, reminding him that the court operated based on rules and decorum. Yet despite her efforts, the trial continued to spiral into uncharted territory, drawing comparisons to landmark cases that had captivated the nation in decades past. Behind closed doors, negotiations intensified as lawyers worked tirelessly to navigate the complexities of the case. Clinton's defense team pushed back against Musk's claims, filing motions to dismiss key pieces of evidence on technical grounds. Meanwhile, prosecutors grappled with the task of verifying the authenticity of the encrypted files presented by Musk's team. Independent cybersecurity experts were brought in to analyze the data, adding yet another layer of scrutiny to the process. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Any misstep could sway public perception and potentially alter the course of the trial. For Hillary Clinton, the experience was exhausting, but also strangely familiar. Throughout her career, she had faced countless controversies, each accompanied by waves of media attention and public scrutiny. This time, however, felt different. The involvement of Elon Musk introduced an element of unpredictability that made it impossible to anticipate what might happen next. Friends and colleagues urged her to stay focused, reminding her of the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. Privately, she admitted to feeling frustrated by the circus-like atmosphere, but remained determined to see the case through to its conclusion. As the weeks dragged on, fatigue began to set in, not just for those directly involved in the trial, but for the general public as well. While initial interest had been sky-high, some people started to grow weary of the constant updates and endless speculation. Yet, even as attention waned slightly, the underlying tension persisted. Everyone knew that the outcome of the case would have far-reaching implications not just for Clinton and Musk, but for the broader conversation about accountability and ethics in leadership. By the time closing arguments approached, the nation braced itself for what promised to be a dramatic finale. Would the judge rule in favor of pursuing charges against Clinton? Would Musk face consequences for his role in uncovering the alleged evidence? Or would the entire saga end in ambiguity, leaving more questions than answers? Whatever the verdict, one thing was certain. The intersection of politics, technology, and justice had never been more entangled or more fascinating to watch. And as the final chapter loomed on the horizon, anticipation reached a fever pitch, with millions tuning in to witness history unfold in real time. The final chapter of the courtroom drama arrived with a sense of inevitability, yet no one could have predicted how it would unfold. After weeks of heated testimonies, endless debates, and mounting public pressure, the judge prepared to deliver her verdict. The courtroom was packed once again with reporters jostling for space and cameras capturing every movement outside. Inside, the air felt heavy with anticipation. Hillary Clinton sat quietly beside her lawyers, her expression guarded, but resolute. Elon Musk, who had become an unexpected fixture in the trial, leaned forward slightly, his eyes fixed on the judge as if trying to decipher her thoughts. When the judge finally spoke, her voice carried a tone of measured authority, cutting through the tension like a knife. She began by summarizing the key points of the case, acknowledging both the complexity of the evidence presented and the challenges of navigating such a high-profile matter. Her words were deliberate, each sentence delivered with care to ensure clarity. This court has been tasked with determining whether sufficient grounds exist to pursue formal charges based on the allegations brought forth, she said. While the documents uncovered raise valid concerns about the handling of sensitive materials, the burden of proof required to establish criminal intent has not been met. With that statement, the room seemed to hold its collective breath. The judge ruled that while there were lapses in protocol during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State, they did not rise to the level of criminal misconduct. Formal charges against Clinton would not be pursued. However, she emphasized the need for stricter oversight moving forward, calling on government agencies to implement reforms to prevent similar issues in the future. It was a nuanced decision, one that neither fully exonerated Clinton nor dismissed the seriousness of the allegations entirely. As the ruling sank in, reactions poured in immediately. Clinton supporters erupted in cheers, hugging one another and celebrating what they saw as a vindication of her legacy. Outside the courthouse, chants of "Justice prevails" echoed through the streets as crowds waved American flags and held up signs praising her resilience. For them, this was more than just a legal victory. It was a triumph over years of relentless scrutiny and criticism. Clinton herself remained composed, offering only a brief statement thanking her family, friends, and legal team for their unwavering support. "I have always believed in accountability and transparency," she said firmly. "Today's decision reaffirms my commitment to serving this country with integrity." But the story didn't end there. While Clinton avoided formal charges, the spotlight quickly shifted back to Elon Musk. Lawmakers wasted no time launching investigations into how his company had obtained and disseminated the classified data at the heart of the case. Questions swirled about the legality of his methods and whether he had overstepped ethical boundaries in pursuit of his version of justice. Critics seized the opportunity to accuse him of recklessness, arguing that his actions undermined national security protocols. Others defended him, insisting that his intervention had forced important conversations about accountability that might otherwise have been ignored. Musk, ever the provocateur, took to social media almost immediately after the verdict. In a series of tweets, he expressed disappointment with the outcome, but doubled down on his belief that the truth needed to come out. "Sometimes the system protects itself instead of the people," he wrote. "But I stand by what we uncovered. Transparency is messy, but it's necessary." His posts sparked yet another wave of debate, with some applauding his persistence and others dismissing his comments as self-serving rhetoric. Regardless of where people stood, his involvement had undeniably reshaped the narrative, turning a legal proceeding into a global spectacle. In the days that followed, the aftermath of the trial dominated headlines. Political analysts dissected every angle, debating whether Musk's actions had ultimately helped or harmed the cause of accountability. Some argued that his intervention had exposed flaws in existing systems, forcing institutions to confront uncomfortable truths. Others contended that his method set a dangerous precedent, opening the door for individuals to bypass traditional channels in pursuit of personal agendas. Either way, the trial had highlighted the growing influence of technology moguls in shaping public discourse, a trend that showed no signs of slowing down. For ordinary citizens, the case served as a mirror reflecting broader societal tensions. Trust in institutions continued to waver, with many questioning whether leaders could truly be held accountable in an era defined by polarization and misinformation. Conversations around ethics, privacy, and the balance of power became more urgent than ever. Late-night talk show hosts joked about the absurdity of a tech billionaire testifying in a federal court. But beneath the humor, lay a deeper unease about the blurred lines between activism, ambition, and justice. Meanwhile, protests persisted outside courthouses nationwide, though their intensity began to wane. Supporters of Clinton celebrated her acquittal, while those aligned with Musk vowed to keep pushing for greater transparency. Some groups even called for independent commissions to investigate the handling of classified information across all levels of government. Though divided, these movements shared a common thread: a desire for change. As the dust settled, both Clinton and Musk emerged from the ordeal forever changed. For Clinton, the trial reinforced her status as a polarizing figure, a woman who had weathered countless storms, yet continued to inspire fierce loyalty among her supporters. Despite avoiding formal charges, the experience underscored the challenges she faced in maintaining public trust in an increasingly skeptical world. For Musk, the trial cemented his reputation as a disruptor unafraid to challenge the status quo. Whether seen as a hero or a villain, he had proven capable of wielding his influence to command attention on a global scale. Ultimately, the case left behind a legacy of contradictions. It exposed vulnerabilities in systems designed to protect national security while raising critical questions about the role of private citizens in holding those systems accountable. It showcased the power of technology to uncover hidden truths, but also highlighted the risks of unchecked ambition. And perhaps most importantly, it reminded everyone that the pursuit of justice is rarely straightforward, often messy, complicated, and deeply human. By the time the final press conferences wrapped up and the last protesters dispersed, the nation found itself grappling with lingering uncertainty. What did this case mean for the future of leadership? Could individuals like Musk continue to play outsized roles in matters traditionally reserved for governments? And how could society strike a balance between demanding accountability and respecting legal boundaries? These questions lingered long after the trial ended, ensuring that its impact would resonate for years to come. In the end, the saga of Hillary Clinton and Elon Musk wasn't just about classified documents or courtroom drama. It was about the collision of politics, technology, and morality in an age of unprecedented connectivity. Love it or hate it, the story had captured the imagination of millions, proving once again that truth, much like justice, is rarely black and white. As the world moved on to the next big controversy, one thing remained clear: the lessons learned from this extraordinary chapter would shape conversations about power and responsibility for generations to come.